It is no secret that we live in a screen-saturated world. Studies show Americans spend an average of 4 hours and 30 minutes every day on their phones. And with so much attachment to our devices, we can often forget to look up, see the wonder of the world, and connect with God. And we are joined in our studio tonight by Father Seith with the Archdiocese of Washington and author of the book Rekindling Wonder, Touching Heaven in a Screen-Saturated World. Father, thank you so much for coming on today. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Tracy. Good to be here.
I know you brought the book right there.
Very exciting.
Okay, everybody needs to read it and get that. I have to tell you, I love this, putting down our cell phones. I want to talk about why that's so important, but I also want to talk about your personal experiences. I mean, you grew up without a cell phone. I mean, you had some devices, but let's talk about that and how that affected you.
Yeah, growing up, you know, I basically had a laptop, had a computer, but that was it, thank God. And then the big thing was moving over for seminaries in Rome, where I didn't have a cell phone at all for 5 years. And realizing how different that was for me, just that I was able to just stay attached to reality in a different way. It was really life-giving, because I just found, like, whenever I was in front of the screen, it was kind of deadening. And I constantly want more, you know? And so I was like, what? I'm not excited about life, I'm not. And when I would get away from it, I was like, oh, there's something more that I want.
Yeah. So that was sort of your digital fast.
Of sorts, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, very much so. The big thing for me, I was reading this author, one of my favorite authors, Joseph Pieper. Actually, he introduced Joseph Ratzinger to Karol Wojtyła. So kind of a cool connection there. But he said, when we're constantly looking for new information, that often it's from a flight from self, that we're nauseated and bored by the void of an interior life gutted by despair. And it kind of struck a little too close to home for me. And so, yeah, I was like, oh, what's going on there? So I just kind of entered into kind of maybe what the spirit behind some of our devices is and what it's really imprisoning us in. And I realized, yeah, just some of the vices that were kind of behind some of these things. Yeah,
and you know what? I feel like we were talking right before this, how important that is, but how can we actually do that, right? Because we're so connected by our devices and always we feel like we always have to be on. So do you have any tips for us?
So the first thing is just realizing why we want that connection. A lot of times we're like, okay, what do I do instead? It's like, well, wait a minute. There's this loneliness in our hearts, and we want to be connected. And so it's not what do I do instead, it's who am I with instead, right? When we're on vacation at the beach with our family, it doesn't really matter what we're doing. It's just we're with our family. And so it's the same thing, just to first of all recognize, okay, I'm going to this because I'm lonely. I need to be with someone who's with me. And then the second thing is to make very concrete kind of fasts, you know? So, okay, Lent, I'm not gonna be on any social media. I'm not gonna bring my device into my room. There's places, there's times that are intentionally device-free. Really important for us to just live a human life.
Yeah, I love that. And, you know, if we can only get our kids to do that, we got to make them do that so, you know, they can experience life a little more. I told you a funny story. I won't mention it and embarrass my daughter on TV, but some actually would like not to be so connected and maybe rekindle wonder. Yeah. And I want to talk about that, your book. Describe what happens and why you felt the need to write this book.
Sure. So one of the things that our devices, they get us to do is to kind of, they bring us into this place where we want to be amazed, right? And so we're looking for more. There's this constant need to be fed. And it's kind of the dark mirror image of contemplation, just the capacity to see more, right? So when we see a sunset and we're just caught up in amazement, there's this more that we want, but it's life-giving, right? There's this, and we taste eternity. Yeah. Whereas when we're in front of our screen, we want more, and we can keep getting more and more and more, but it's not life-giving, it's really deadening. And so what I wanted, the reason I wrote the book is because I wanted to help people enter back into that capacity to see the more in reality, to see the more in God, by learning really just how to be again, and to find the amazement of the infinite concealed in the finite.
Yeah. I love that. I love it. And it's so important. Put the phone down, maybe go outside, go for a walk, experience God's creation, and be in the moment. Yeah. Yeah. Any other tips before I let you go?
Gosh, tips? No. I guess the big thing would just be to you know, during Lent, like, okay, God, where are you? Because there's this, if the experience is like feeling isolated and lonely, and we're running away from that experience of limitedness and isolation, to find God in that place, like that's the experience of the cross. That's the experience of Lent that we can really enter into this season. So
yeah, beautiful. Father Chris, thank you so much
absolutely,
for coming on. We
Tracy. Good to be
appreciate
with you.
it.
Thank you.